You can't tell me that Michigan isn't a bass fishing state. You can't tell Rex Burdett either that Oakland County area isn't a bass fishing area. How big is that, Rex?
6.5 pounds.
Wow, you're going to hear a tale on how that was caught in just a moment, because it's Thursday night and time for Michigan Outdoors.
From the rugged shore and woodlands of the north, its history of copper mines and iron ore, the Great Lakes fisheries. To the farmlands of the southern counties we'll look around again, at all that waits the sportsman in the state of Michigan. And sometimes when the moon brings out the diamonds in the snow, and the stillness of the forest lies encased in Arctic cold, the wind might whisper through the trees, listen if you can, it tells you of the beauty in the state of Michigan.
Well, if you want to catch a trophy bass, a good way to start is to talk to somebody who's caught one. Rex Burdett, you're from Holly?
Yes.
You caught this in Oakland County? Is that in Oakland County?
Yes,
guys?
Oakland County.
Well, a lot of people who are out in our viewing audience are going to want to know exactly where you caught it. Don't tell them. Don't say a word. It's in Oakland County, though. But we'll talk about the other techniques in particulars. Ned Fogel, you're a bass fisherman from way back. You're from the DNR Fisheries Division. What are most bass in Michigan caught on? What's the best bait or lure?
Well, there's a wide variety of baits, and everybody has their favorite lure. There's topwater baits, midwater baits, bottom baits, and they'll all take fish depending on what time of the year, where the fish are.
Well, they do hit on a variety of things because bass eat a variety of things. But let's put this lure in here, Rex. This looks like a classic Rapala.
Yeah.
Floating?
It's a Rebel baby bass.
Oh, Rebel, okay. Same type of lure. And I can tell you that this guy here is an accomplished fisherman. If we can come in and get a close-up of this. Ned, why would I say that? Can you tell by the way he has this lure tied on here?
Well, he's got the right kind of knot.
Well, I don't know about that. That's debatable.
It
but
looks like it.
He doesn't have a swivel and a snap tied to that.
Right. This gives the bait a lot more action, and you don't weight the front of the bait down in this manner.
A lot of times if you put a weight or a snap on a bait like that, it's going to foul up the action. Well, Rex, let's get to the details blow by blow. How'd you catch it?
Well, I was just down fishing off my dock and just casting off the dock and just happened to hook into it.
That's it?
That's it.
Oh, bass fishing's as easy as pie, huh?
Real easy.
Oh, golly, you got a 6.5 pounder. That doesn't happen all the time. But let's talk about this bass, Ned. First of all, how can you tell it's a largemouth bass?
Well, by the large mouth, this is one of the ways you determine the difference between it and the smallmouth. You can see the upper lip. When you close the mouth, it extends on beyond the back of the eye, whereas the smallmouth, the upper lip only extends right to the rear of the eye. And this is one of the major ways to tell the difference between them.
Of course, the coloration as well.
That's coloration, right. The smallmouth generally has a series of bars on it that gives you also on the cheek side, whereas your largemouth bass, you can't see it very well here, but they have a large, dark lateral line that normally shows up.
Okay, well, that's the difference between the two. How big do largemouth get in Michigan?
Well, our state record is 11 pounds, 15 ounces, Fred.
Boy, that's good. So what's the world record?
22 pounds, 4 ounces taken in Georgia.
Boy, this is a great fish. 6.5 pounds right here qualifies for master angler.
But this is a very good bass. When you get one this size, well, you've got a good one.
What do basically largemouth eat in Michigan lakes?
Well, they're a fish eater. They eat a lot of forage, small forage fish, minnows, small panfish. But they have a mouth that's very well adapted to eating bluegills. And so they are one of our major predator species on the panfish.
I have a mouth that's adapted to eating bluegills, too. Walleye, pike.
Don't we all?
Well, that's a great fish, Rex. A terrific fish. Congratulations. Hope maybe you catch a bigger one off that dock.
Thank you so much.
You want to know what that dock is? You'll have to look them up in the phone book. Okay, well, thank you. Ned, you're a bow hunter. You were down at the Anderson Archery Clinic this past weekend. How was it?
Great as usual.
Well, it sure was. We're going to have a report right now. There were nearly 15,000 archers that showed up at Anderson Archery last weekend in Grand Ledge. They came not only from around Michigan, from around the United States. Many different states were represented. Archers coming not only to see the demonstrations of new equipment, to find out what's available in bows and arrows and camouflage gear. Here, a fellow is testing his bow in a chronograph. Find out how fast, what velocity his arrow shoots out of that bow. But this was centered around Anderson Archery, the largest archery distributor, retailer in the world. And J.D. Anderson is the man who started this business many years ago. And in his showroom, many archers poured in there after talking with the experts and joining in the seminars. And I chatted with J.D. Anderson about this clinic and about bow hunting.
Well, every species of big game animal in North America and on the African continent has been taken with a bow at some time or other. These are referred to affectionately as the slow runners, I guess, in the trade. So.
Are you a bow hunter yourself?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I don't think we could, that's how I got started, in fact. A fraternity brother down at GMI, well, over 30 years ago, said, why don't you go bow hunting with me? And I said, what's that? You know, and I've been bow hunting ever since. And I guess the mistake was I started making my own arrows in the basement, you know, and then the neighbor guy wanted a couple, and don't ever do that, Fred, because this is what can happen to you.
Okay, what is the compound bow? How's that affected business? Did things really take off when the compound was innovated?
Not when it first came out. People like Fred Bear and myself were somewhat opposed to it because it was kind of a mechanical contrivance. It was heavy in the hand. It didn't have the romance of the long bow and the self bow and that sort of thing. But gradually, we couldn't overlook the efficiency, and that's what we're talking about. As you probably know, an arrow kills by penetration and hemorrhage, and kinetic energy is 1/2 the mass times the velocity squared. We have to get the arrow moving, and that's what the compound bow does.
Well, you know, if we look around here at compounds, all the way down one wall, all the way down this wall, and look at your selection of recurves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pegs with recurves. Are they done? Are these relics? Do you sell these as souvenirs?
No, they were done 2 years ago. They were completely finished. We stock over 5,000 compound bows, and at one point in time, we didn't have a recurve bow in the building, not a single one. Now, a few of them are starting to come back. Everything cycles, as you know, but you'll never see, you know, in our lifetime, the demise of the compound, as far as I'm concerned. It has taken over the archery industry.
Are recurves coming back?
They didn't go anywhere. I think the word is out that they faded, but they didn't. We just have continued to make them and continue to sell them very, very well indeed. This one is a little bit unique in that it is adjustable. In other words,
adjustable draw weight?
Adjustable in draw weight, right, over a 15-pound range. In other words, you have here 2 anchor bolts, and what you do is simply adjust these, put the limb down, flush on the platform, or bring it back. And you can shoot it over a 15-pound range. Yep.
Are there any price advantages or anything to a recurve?
Well, they tend to be less expensive, yes, than a compound bow. But the real heart of a good recurve bow is in the design of the limb. The limb design so that it performs well is the real heart of a
How would somebody know a good recurve bow?
Well, the main thing is to look and to see if the limbs are straight and if the string splits the limb right down the middle and that the limbs are straight. Also, when he draws the bow back and he sees that limb, if he sees that when the string returns after full draw, not a lot, in other words, not shooting it, that it returns down in the center. It also is the configuration of the limbs, whether the configuration is the way it should be.
Whether it's symmetrical, you mean?
Symmetrical, right. Actually, ideally, if it were possible, every bow should be shot right dead center, but they can't be. The hand has to be down below. And this means that the process of tillering means that actually the lower limb should be a slight bit stiffer than the upper limb. That wouldn't be necessary if we could always shoot like so, but we can't because the hand has to be down below, and you have to have an arrow shot there.
Very good. So maybe we should look for a little resurgence in popularity of the recurve.
Oh, they're there. I think they're quieter than compound shooters.
Sort of like fly fishermen.
A little bit, yeah. I'm a bass fisherman myself.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, Don.
You're more than welcome. This has the advantage, again, of even being simpler.
Well,
than
Don
this.
Gustafson and I had a nice chat about recurve bows. It's nice to see that they are coming back. In fact, this coming fall, I'm going to go back to a recurve. Try that for my bow hunting. But he came all the way from Connecticut. A lot of people, of course, pouring over the showroom were looking at the compound bows, a predominant bow. Tom Jennings held a seminar. He's the man who developed and marketed the compound. He was the first one to really get into that business. But there's a lot of things that have to do with bow hunting, arrows, camouflage gear, the fletchings, not just the bows. And if you really want to learn about this, you got to talk to the man who wrote the book on bow hunting in North America. You know who he is.
That's a takedown recurve is what it is, yeah.
The arrow knocker's on the wrong side, though.
Well,
Yeah, there he is, a living legend, the man who knows more about bow hunting for more kinds of game than anyone, the legendary Fred Bear. Big game animals with a bow than anybody. More records.
I guess so, yeah. Yeah, I've had a lot of fun doing it. Well, Fred, when I got in the archery business, was in Detroit in 1933. Those were bad years. That was the beginning of the end of the worst depression ever. There were no jobs. And I got in the archery business because the place where I was working burned down and didn't have a job. And at that time, I had to not only make a product, but I had to create a market for it. So I got in the promotional business, and I soon found that the newspapers weren't interested in scores of a tournament, but if you could run down there with a deer or a bear you shot with a bow, you might make front page. Well, in 1937, 4 years later, we had our first archery season with 193 hunters. 193 bow hunting licenses were sold. And it got to a point where I could some days maybe eat 3 meals a day. And then they kept on promoting, and as the business grew, we did better. And I found myself in a position where I could go hunting any place in the world. I could, take some pictures, write a story, or make a film. I could expense it out tax-wise, and I could pay myself for doing it. And
Can't beat it.
well, I've been doing that for 30-some years now and having a ball, yes.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I've shot a lot of animals and just had a great time. I'm still having a great time.
I imagine. Well, show us the Fred Bear form. What's the classic form?
Well, I don't have an arrow, but my classic form, it differs from most people. I'm aiming when I draw, and when I get it back here at full length, it's gone. It's like shooting a slingshot. You can't describe the system, but that's the way it works. It's like
when you pull it back,
I'm aiming.
Pause and draw.
When I get back to full draw, it's gone. It's called snap shooting.
Snap shooting.
And I don't recommend it. I hope nobody tries to copy me because I taught myself, and it's a little bit hard to master that technique, but it has served me very well.
I heard that there was a day, I don't know if it was 20, 25 years ago, that you went hunting and didn't get anything.
I did one.
That happened? That's a true story? I don't believe
That is the truest of true stories.
that just happened. Isn't that amazing, Ed?
Well, you know,
Fred Bear is just an incredible man.
and he lives up to his name, legendary. What a personable gentleman.
He is such a fine guy and a thrill to talk to. He's 80 years old, and he still comes back to Michigan fly fishing. He's been fly fishing this past week. And speaking of fishing, we have some big fish to report on right now in our trophy report. You remember that state record long-nosed gar we had on the show a few weeks ago? Well, it weighed over 15 pounds. It was speared near Chelsea. Well, here's the gar that held the state record just before that. It was only 5.5 pounds, caught on a jig by Mike Miller of Westland. He held that record for about a year, and I think he deserves recognition in our trophy report. You know, Mike may have been jigging for a crappie when he caught that gar. Here's a master angler crappie, a smidgen over 2 pounds, 2.02 pounds to be exact. George Himmeter from Saginaw caught it using a minnow in February through the ice at Wixon Lake, Gladwin County. But well into the master angler weight is this one, nearly 3 pounds, caught by Steve Sigafus of Bannister. He was also using a teardrop and minnow in Rainbow Lake, caught at 6:30 in the morning, one cold day in February. It had to be taken in the darkness. Now this photo Steve sent showed the fish, but not Steve. So he sent me another one where we could see Steve, but the fish doesn't show up as well. Yeah, that's show business. Now here's a master angler, not a master angler fish, but I do think it's noteworthy. Not every kid is lucky enough to catch a muskie. This one is 8 pounds, caught by Tony Griffin from Mansalona. He caught it at 6 Mile Lake in Central Lake. And to whet your appetite for what's coming up in a month or so in the Great Lakes, Laura Clucky and Tim White from Houghton Lake were trolling off Manistee last July and caught this 28-pound Chinook. Why didn't that look good? Fishing like this is right around the corner. And here's another junior angler. He has a Master Angler smallmouth. Look at the size of that one. A little creative photography helps, but Robbie Kauska, who's 12 years old, caught that smallmouth bass on a minnow in Bel Air Lake. That 5.5-pounder won the Bass Festival in Mansalona. You know, Robbie would be the trophy angler of the week with a fish like that, but I think we have to go with this one for size alone. Looks like a monster, and it is. 149.5 pounds of sturgeon. This was taken 2 years ago on Memorial Day in the North Channel of Lake St. Clair. Ed Polidor of Lake Orion was using a chub, probably pike fishing, when this baby hit. Can you imagine hooking into something like this? Well, we're going to have to give credit to this catch and to the photographs. Ed Polidor can just wheel off his trophy along with his recognition as being our Michigan Outdoors Master Angler of the Week. Ed, how'd you like to catch a trophy like that?
Well, I think I'd like to catch it, but I wouldn't want to fillet it.
You don't think so? Maybe we ought to have something like that in our fish filleting and cleaning championships this summer. Of course, that idea came about last week when we were fishing for walleye down in Brest Bay. Caught our limit of walleye with Ray Nichols and his charter service. That's right down there off Monroe. And the fish, by the way, are still hitting like crazy down there. But when we got done, and we're going to fillet these, I'm really proud of the way I fillet fish, Ed, because I do a meticulous job, and I was trying to explain to Ray that I'm going to really come up with a fine fillet here, and he was chuckling over there. I didn't know why he was chuckling, because look how intent I am. He had filleted both sides of a walleye before I had even almost got started on mine. I'm still cutting over the ribs. This man is the fastest fish filleter I have ever seen. Look at how he goes on that.
He gets all that meat, too.
He does. He does. He does a stupendous job in a very short amount of time. Well, I ended up just taking care of skinning the fillets. Ray said, let me fillet them and you skin them. I couldn't even keep up with him on that. And, of course, Jerry O'Brien, who they call Twiggy, he was filleting out the cheeks.
You know, I've seen this and read about it. I haven't seen it done actually, but taking the cheeks off of fish.
Right.
What do you have to have, an extremely sharp, small knife?
Sharp knife. They make a special knife, but I do real well with this one here. But they have a cheek knife too.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, you just
this is the
make
same
cut
Uh-huh.
down under. Just miss the gill thing here,
Yeah.
the mouth. Cut it over and then peel it with your thumb, and it'll leave the skin on there, and just a little
bit of an oyster there.
Well, it depends what type of fish. Salmon's a lot bigger, but you can any type, and it's really a delicacy.
There's some real fish cleaning expertise right there at that table. Not necessarily me, but this is how our fish cleaning championships came about. The idea was spawned right here.
No rookie.
What is this, Ray Nichols? You said nobody can beat you at filleting fish?
I've never met the man that can. I'm not saying I can't get beat, because there's got to be someone. I've just never seen him.
Well, I think that's a challenge. A Michigan Outdoors challenge that on this show, we are going to have the state of Michigan fish cleaning championships. Never been done. When do you want to do it?
I don't care, in the fall.
In the fall, okay.
When the salmon, I can do a salmon, a 20-pound Chinook in 35 seconds, table ready.
Ooh. There's a challenge. 35 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, for the past 3 years, I've seen between Ray Nichols, John Sawicki, and Jerry Lee. It would be a good race. I got to believe, though, that Ray Nichols would take it. If I was a betting man, I would put my money on Ray.
Is he going to hold the title?
For walleyes, yes. For salmon, probably not.
Well, who's going to beat him?
I'll beat him with salmon.
You think so?
In salmon cleaning, I know I can. Walleye cleaning, he can clean 5 to my 1. There's no question about that. He's a pro at this here, walleye cleaning.
Ray?
Isn't that right, huh?
What do you think about that?
I know I can beat him cleaning salmon. We've cleaned on the same table. I had to wait for him to get done. I took a nap.
We'll see what happens, you know.
Well, you know, there's a lot of other fellas out there, too, that say they could probably whip the both of you. What do you say about that? Tag team?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be a tag team.
Yeah. We'll take on anybody.
That's great.
going to be terrific. But there we were at the table. For those of you who think you might want to participate in our fish cleaning championships, look at how Ray Nichols cleans this, cleans and fillets out this walleye. 10 seconds he took to get this one fillet off. He'll have the whole thing done in 27 seconds. So pay attention, see if you can beat him.
Well, you said, what is this right here? Yes.
That man is going to be tough to beat. I proclaimed him the fish cleaning champ, so we'll see what happens. How about maybe we should have that on Labor Day? What do you think, Ed?
Sounds good.
Okay, we'll get that planned out and keep you posted on it. But right now, let's head up to Houghton Lake at the Deer Research Station to have an update on our wildlife friends. Well, heading up to Houghton Lake, once again, our wildlife friends, our whitetail deer, they've been having their fawns for the past 6 weeks. This doe was the last one up there to have her fawns. Looks like she's has triplets there in store. Not quite sure at this point, but she was large. John Nellist is the wildlife technician in charge, and he takes us around every now and then to show us what's happening with the deer at various times of the year. Of course, with the baby fawns, as soon as they're dropped up there, they have to have ear tags put in their ear, a tattoo put in the other ear, given shots, taken care of, because they'll live quite a long time in captivity. In the wild, with or without hunting, it doesn't matter. Wild creatures don't live long, even white-tailed deer. Many of them die as fawns at this age. Many of them die when the winter comes. But these deer at the research station are destined for hopefully long lives. That means about 6 or 7 years for a deer. Most of them have twins. A good healthy deer will have twins. In the northern areas where the deer aren't as well fed in the winter, they're likely just to have one. And of course, as I said, the mortality is low. The bucks right now are starting to sprout their antlers. They look like little nubbins with fuzz on them, but they grow quite rapidly. In another month or so, their antlers are going to be filled out and in the characteristic buck posture. Don't they look a bit like a giraffe said?
You're right.
Yeah, they're a member of the sheep family, actually. Deer are. They're closely related to the sheep. Well, John Nellist, Maynard is getting a little bit of antlers coming up through here. They don't really have any velvet on them at this stage to speak of, a few little hairs.
They're just starting at this point right now, and they'll grow quite rapidly through the summer as winter hair is starting to
you can
shed.
Peel this hair right off. Look at that.
Finer red coat coming on underneath.
Well, is Maynard about on schedule as far as losing his hair?
Well, he might be a little bit behind. Some of them have already lost their winter hair, and he might be a little behind the rest of them.
Now, why is Maynard so tame compared with all the other deer here?
Well, this is a deer that had been supposedly orphaned and was brought in by people, and it was bottle raised. And it's lost, as you can see, it's lost its fear of man.
And of cameras.
And of cameras. And like I was saying, he'll be a real problem this year. He might have spikes or 4-point or maybe even a 6-point rack this fall when his antlers fully developed, and during the rut he'll
be cantankerous.
He'll try to butt you around in the pen, and he can actually be very dangerous at that time of the year.
Well, right now he's not dangerous, is he? He's just
no, but they take on a different attitude during the rut, and they can really hurt some people.
Well, we're going to be keeping an eye on Maynard. This is our second visit with him, the orphaned fawn here at the Houghton Lake Deer Research Station. We'll come back and visit you in a month or two, Maynard, see how you're coming along with your antlers and your disposition. So he's cute right now, but we're going to find out what happens when you try to tame a deer as the summer goes on. You know, Ed, that's the story with a lot of wildlife. They are cute when they're little, but, he's kind of spunky right now and can be kind of a pest.
He has his own personality, Fred. You kind of get to know Maynard. That name fits him well.
Yeah, we filmed him up at Tip-Up Town, and we'll be back to film him again in a month or so, check on his antlers, see how they're doing. We'll show you what it's like to keep a wildlife pet, and that can be kind of difficult as they get older.
They're so cute.
They are. Well, the flags are up now. There they go, bounding off. Familiar sight to people who enjoy Michigan wildlife.
I can't wait to get up there in this fall.
A good weekend to enjoy yourself in Michigan outdoors. Hope to see you right here next week.
From the rugged shore and woodlands of the north, its history of copper mines and iron ore, the Great Lakes fisheries. To the farmlands of the southern counties we'll look around again, and all that waits the sportsman in the state of Michigan. Sometimes when the moon brings out the diamonds in the snow, and the stillness of the forest lies encased in Arctic cold, the wind might whisper through the trees, listen.